So first of all, I'll take a second and thank everybody for making the time to view or participate in this webinar. I know everybody's time is in very high demand, and so we definitely don't take it lightly that you're spending time with us. We've had this webinar out for quite a while, and we found that the feedback that we've gotten from people has been extremely positive, especially from the standpoint that we see the same people come back over multiple times over a course of time, because there's a lot of information that's very technical that Howard does offer that sometimes you don't get at a first setting. So if for whatever reason you have a desire to take a look at this again, feel free to sign back up for it. We also have one that has some of the same information that's available on AIAspec.com. That's an on-demand portion of it. It's not going to have all the same information, but it has some of it. My name is Jason Spangler. I'm the Flooring Division Manager here at Wagner Meters. I'm responsible for not only the concrete moisture testing side of things and the Rapid RH family of products, but I'm responsible for the small line of wood hand meters we have for testing the moisture content of wood subfloors and finished wood products for putting down on top of those floors. If you do have any questions that you think of after the fact, obviously we're going to do a Q&A session right now, but if you think of some after the fact, please feel free to give me a call directly. Phone number here is 800-634-9961, and it's extension 235. So again, we are going to do a Q&A, but I'm going to take a second to just give you an update. One of the things you'll notice is that Howard talks about a lot of the he talks a little bit about the Rapid RH, but one of the things we haven't done is updated any of the information really regarding the new L6 version of the Rapid RH that we just came out with in May. Some of the reasons for the change revolve around the user experience as far as feedback that we've gotten from the field to make either minor or major improvements. The other side is from a technical standpoint. As technology moves forward, we obviously want to keep the Rapid RH on the cutting edge of the technology that's available. So first thing is, and foremost, is that the sensor itself has been improved compared to previous versions. Not to say that the previous versions weren't or aren't still very, very good, but again, as technology moves forward, we can do some different things. So what you'll find with the new L6 is that the responsiveness of the sensor in that high 90 to 100% relative humidity range will be quicker to react to the actual drying of the concrete than previous versions. It's a very, very positive thing. From a standpoint of the sensor, again, is the fact that the sensor has onboard memory inside of that sensor. So every time you take a reading, it's storing that information in the sensor. Nice part about that is that technically you can go back and retrieve that information in mass if you want prior to installation. On the other side, it's something that it stays in that sensor, and barring any major catastrophe that happens, you could go back after the fact if something does happen as far as a flooring failure, and you could extract the information out of that sensor to prove that at the time of your installation, this truly is what happened and what was going on with that floor. So again, it's really a documentation piece that allows you to be able to cover yourself a little bit better. On the reader side of things, prior to the L6 version, we had a smart reader, which was the Bluetooth version of the reader, and we had an easy reader, which was the manual or LCD display version of the reader. Now what we've done, instead of having two, is we've combined those together as one. So now we have what's called a total reader, which acts not only as a LCD visual display, but as a Bluetooth connectivity to be able to take the information from the sensor and transmit it to the new DataMaster L6 app that we have out. The other thing we did with the reader was we, based on customer feedback, made some changes to the pins on the bottom of the sensor, or on the bottom of the reader, that makes it more robust, and it makes the connectivity to the sensor much more repeatable and easier to do. Last thing we did was with the caps. People would talk about the fact that it was great having those caps, Unfortunately, they would come off, people would kick them off, things along those lines. So what we did was we took a cap and we made a two-piece cap. So it's a hard plastic and a soft rubber plug that goes in the center. But on top of that, there's also a butyl gasket or a butyl ring on the bottom that you pull release paper off of it and you stick it physically to the concrete. So it basically gives the same profile that you had previously, but it sticks to the concrete, so it's much harder for it to come off or to have somebody take it off. So those are the changes to the L6. So let's get to the Q&A piece of this. So one of the questions that I get a lot is that Howard talks about the fact that relative humidity testing in general is a very depth-specific measurement. So people will ask, how do I know how thick the concrete is so that I can calculate that depth-specific measurement? Well, I mean, it's a great question. And, part of it comes down to new construction. Obviously, there are specifications that the concrete needs to be at from a thickness standpoint. I realize in a perfect world, they would be that thickness, but in the real world, they do vary. But at least having that information allows you to have that place or that reference point to start. On existing types of projects, sometimes there'll be trenching where you alter the plumbing or add plumbing. You can see the thickness when it's exposed. The elevated slabs, a lot of times in stairwells or in other places where there are penetrations, the penetration or the hole through the penetration that the pipe or whatever it is goes through typically is not cut to size, so you can see around the edges of that to be able to get an idea. I tell people a lot of times you're not used to having to determine slab thickness or to pay attention to it, but once you start doing this type of testing and you have to pay attention to it, you'd be amazed at how many different tells there are on a job that allow you to understand what the overall thickness of the slab is. Worst case scenario, I have people out there that are taking a smaller diameter drill bit. They're picking a couple of different places on the slab to get comparative information, and they're drilling all the way through the slab. They'll then take a piece of wire, make a J-hook out of it, push it down through that hole, and when it pops out at the bottom, you pull it up, you're on the bottom of the slab, mark Sharpie point on the piece of wire, pull it out, and you're able to look at the radius and where the J was that they've bent in the bottom to the Sharpie line, and you can get a reasonably good measurement. Having a couple of holes gives you reference point. You definitely don't want to go around drilling holes all over the place to be able to verify the consistency of the thickness, but doing a couple holes gives you that reference to start from. The other thing I get is the elevated slabs. Elevated slabs, as far as pan decking, ASTM standard says that you really do want to drill in the thickest area of the pan decking. So in pan decking, you'll have a shallow and then you'll have a deep area for as far as the flutes go. You want to calculate your 40% based off of the deepest thickness or the thickest part of the slab, and you also want to do your best to try to drill in those areas when you're inserting or drilling for the moisture testing in the slab. So it looks like I don't have any other questions. Again, my name is Jason Spangler. If you have any questions after the fact, please feel free to reach out to me, 800-634-9961, extension 235. Thanks, and have a great day.